My dad, 43 male, got married a little over a month ago. I, teen, met his wife, 39 female, and her daughter just under 2 months ago. They had a long-distance relationship before that. Dad's stepdaughter's a toddler. The incident in question happened a week ago. My dad's wife's daughter wasn't home. I think she was with a friend of my dad's or something. But they did that so they could talk to me. Dad's wife told me that she and my dad needed me to know that her daughter would need me now more than ever. She told me that while she was married to her ex-husband, she had an affair, and that her daughter was born as a result of the affair, and that her older kids all made it very clear they were disgusted by her and found her repulsive as an affair baby. And she said they made it clear they would never consider her a sibling or treat her the same as they treat each other because she's tainted by the way she was born and all this stuff. She told me that meeting my dad was the best thing ever, and she was so grateful they had the chance to move so her daughter wouldn't grow up feeling hated every day, and so she'd have the chance at a family who would love her and treat her the way she deserved to be treated. I didn't really get why she was telling me at the moment, and it felt like it was a weird thing to bring up to me. So I asked why this stuff was my problem when they were still practically strangers to me. They got mad and told me that was a horrific way to react to being told my new sister was treated terribly before and hated for something she couldn't control. They told me it should be obvious why I was being told, because they wanted me to make an effort to be her older brother and not just a stepbrother she lived with for 2 years and then turned his back on her once he was out of the house. They said I could be a great addition to her life, and I should be honored that I get the chance to have a sibling because of losing my mom so young, and Dad not finding anyone else special until 2 years later meant I could have remained an only child forever. My reaction was not what they liked, and then they told me my attitude was a problem, and my reaction to being given relevant information, as well as my lack of enthusiasm to be there for Dad's new stepdaughter, was painting me in a negative light. Dad's wife told me I was lucky they had the foresight not to say this with her daughter in the house, because it would be crushing for a little girl to pick up on my lack of affection for her. I asked her where the affection was meant to come from after so little time and being thrown together as strangers. The last week they've made comments about my attitude, and my dad told me I was out of order being so rude and dismissive with my "why is this my problem?" Not the idiot. You asked a very good question. Why is it your problem? You should ask your dad some more questions like why he believes it's an honor for you to be responsible for a toddler while you're a teenager. Also, if you're responsible for the emotional well-being of the 4-year-old, who's going to be responsible for your emotional well-being since you're still a kid? These adults have some issues. Both of these people sound very immature in regards to talking to teenagers and raising children. I have absolutely no clue why new wife would feel the need to give you any intimate details about her affair child. I think this simply could have been covered with, please be nice to the little stepsister. She has some issues. You may want to recommend to your dad that he, new wife and kid, speak to a professional therapist about blended families. You can't help them with their problems. I have absolutely no clue why new wife would include any intimate details about her affair child. I guess to make it a sob story and guilt OP into accepting it. Oh wait, so did your new stepmother abandon her other children after her affair? She's a real piece of work. Her own kids probably rejected your stepmother. Wow, your dad messed up big time here. Your stepmom cheating and her daughter being the result of her cheating is not your problem. My guess is she wants you to be a brother to her daughter so she can have free babysitting and dump her kid on you. Also, doesn't your dad take her being a cheater and acting like this as a red flag? My advice is to talk to your dad alone. If that doesn't work, try to be civil, but keep your distance until you can move out. I have a friend, Bella, who's late 20s and has a toddler and a baby. She constantly laments that the village doesn't exist anymore and people aren't helping her and her partner with their baby the way they used to in past generations, how selfish it is, and how terrible this society is. She's bitter her mother won't retire and babysit the kids for free. but her mother's only in her mid-50s and can't afford to retire yet. She constantly complains she can't travel or enjoy her life anymore because she doesn't have a village. After years of this, I told her I was glad we had moved away from that because the village that parents romanticize was actually the unpaid labor of women. As a woman who doesn't want a child, I'm glad that I'm no longer considered socially obligated to babysit other people's kids for free or do household chores for people who choose to have kids in my free time, especially because these people won't pay it forward to me in any way. If something happened to me, like getting sick or needing help, they'd use their kids as a reason they couldn't help me. I also reminded her that the village depended on women not having jobs, and it's a good thing that women can now sustain themselves and aren't forced into dependency on their fathers or husbands. What triggered it was that I went overseas recently for a holiday and to attend the concert of an artist I like, and she complained about how she doesn't get to do these things because the village is off doing things like that. She said I'm just a really selfish, child-free person who wants mothers to suffer, but I don't think I was wrong. And then she said I was a bad feminist and a terrible person and hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So many things. Caring for the sick and disabled community and helping raise children were unpaid women's labor that relied on us not being able to work. Yes, it's unfair now that women are expected to work and raise children unless the men are doing an equal share. But in this case, it just sounds like your friend wasn't ready for the responsibility of a child. Yikes, your friend just called parenting suffering. Why did she have kids in the first place if this was too much for her? You're 100% right. When you have a kid, it's nice if you have help, but you should never rely on other people to raise your child in your place while you travel and enjoy life. Yeah, I kind of get the impression she thought they'd be little cute accessories she could take everywhere and then dump them on someone else whenever she wants to take a break. Or it would be more fun to do something without them. I really hate how this village proverb is used by parents nowadays because they understand it as a complete one-way street. Village, help me with my kids, but my kids and I don't owe anyone anything. That's not the village model. Social obligation goes both ways, and with it, social control and the all not so great things about close-knit communities. I'm not saying either of you is right or wrong, but if you guys are genuinely friends, why not empathize with their situation and do something nice? For example, you could communicate with the father and ask him if he can take a day to watch the kid while you two spend a day doing something fun. This helps her feel like there is a village and you don't have to babysit, but have some time with a friend. Yeah, everyone's the idiot here. It probably shouldn't be on you to initiate this, but maybe she just needs a little love. I'm a 31-year-old female, and last week, my boyfriend, 30, asked if he could use my car to pick up his friends from the airport. I asked him why he couldn't use his car, and he said he was booked in for maintenance that day, and mine was bigger anyway. I checked what time the flight got in, worked out the time with work, and said he could take my car. This morning he got ready and asked where the keys were, and I told him they're on the key tray, and he says, no, the Ferrari keys. Background: the Ferrari is a 328 I inherited because my dad died less than 2 months ago. I told him there was no way he was driving the Ferrari and he could use the Land Rover, which is what I agreed to. He said that I agreed that he could drive my car and not which car specifically. I told him there was no way he was taking my dad's Ferrari, and even if we'd been married for 10 years, I still wouldn't let him drive it. We've been together for 6 months. He got angry and said that his friends were expecting him to show up with a Ferrari and that they were excited about going for a drive in it. We got into a shouting match, and I kicked him out of my apartment and told him he wasn't taking the Land Rover either, and he and his friends could work out their own way of getting home. I went to work, took all of the keys with me, and now I'm getting messages from him saying he can't believe I didn't trust him and took all the car keys, and from his mom and dad telling me I need to go to therapy because I'm too attached to things and that my dad is gone and being possessive over his belongings is not healthy. Am I the idiot for not letting my boyfriend use my car? And am I being too emotional? Note, he went back to the apartment after I'd left for work to talk things over. I was so angry about him going through my apartment that I called security, and they took my spare key from him and put his picture up as a do not allow to enter. Did I go too far? Not the idiot. First of all, I'm sorry for your loss. Your boyfriend is a sneaky, insensitive idiot. He didn't ask to borrow the Ferrari. He asked to borrow your car because his was conveniently scheduled for maintenance and your car was bigger. He was deliberately vague. He was lying about his car being scheduled for maintenance, saying your car was bigger and leading you to believe he meant the Land Rover. He already told his friends he was driving the Ferrari before asking you. Could you imagine? Why? I don't want the $80,000 Land Rover. I want the Ferrari. You've been dating this user-loser for 6 months, and he thinks he's entitled to drive your dad's car? Not even any car, but a Ferrari. Then he runs to mommy and daddy, who have the nerve to tell you that you need therapy and that your dad is gone, and you need to stop being possessive of your father's things. They're all disgusting. Not to mention that he went back when she was out and searched the apartment thoroughly enough that he knew she had taken all the car keys with her. I'm 99% sure that if she'd left the Ferrari keys at home, he would have taken the Ferrari anyway. This dude would have left OP on the hook for over $30,000 in damages minimum. Agreed. And gosh, his parents are just terrible. They're trying to convince her that she's 5 years old and it's something as mundane as a toy she needs to share. To answer your question, you didn't go too far. He doesn't care about you. I'm glad you got your key back, and I hope this means that you've dumped his sorry butt. Block him and his parents. You deserve better. You're grieving, and the last thing you need is this parasite trying to take advantage of you during this difficult time. Girl, you did right to bounce this greedy, entitled idiot to the curb. My wife, 31 female, and I, 30 male, were having a gender reveal for our first child. My wife doesn't mind what gender the baby is. She just wanted to get a few friends and family together for a small party. And she was under the impression that I thought that too. Neither of us was interested in doing anything big. We just had a friend to read out the letter and reveal the gender. I didn't tell my wife this, but I was really hoping for a daughter instead of a son. So when it was revealed that we were having a baby boy, it really upset me. I didn't want to ruin the day though, so I just tried to act normal and celebrate with my wife and family. Later on, after everyone had left, I was alone in our room, whilst my wife was downstairs. I was sitting on the bed and just crying. I don't often cry. I think it's a waste of my time and unnecessary, but I was just really panicking. I really wanted a daughter because my dad was really crappy to me, and he messed me up a lot. I'm scared that I'll be the same to my son. I don't want to mess up my son like my dad did to me. I've been scared about turning into my dad since before I met my wife. The big reason I didn't want kids originally was in case I treated them like my dad treated me. My wife walked in on me crying, and I tried to explain why without talking about my dad much. She doesn't know anything about what my dad was like. She told me that I was selfish and called me a few other things, then told me to sleep on the couch. She hasn't really been the same with me since. She's still really annoyed. Am I the idiot? So you are not the idiot for crying or panicking or freaking out, but you are the idiot for not sharing this with your wife. Though I get that in a moment of fear and panic, digging deep and pulling something like that out can be difficult. There are a lot of mentions here about gender disappointment, but I guess that's not what's happening here. It rather sounds more like some sort of trauma response. Hopefully for your son's sake, you'll open up to your wife, get some help, and realize you can absolutely be an amazing father to anyone. All of this. Also, if someone wants a baby of a particular gender, they should choose a route other than the comparative roulette of typical biological conception. To me, it's incredibly irresponsible to enter into a 50-50 gamble and then be disappointed when it's your less desired outcome. You knew the chances were equal and should be happy with either outcome. This exactly. Why haven't you told your wife about your upbringing? You're about to be a parent, and to keep that sort of trauma from your partner is unfair." Of course, she reacted badly. She doesn't have the whole story, and she needs to know so you two can be on the same page about how to parent your child together. Update. My dad was a good dad to my half-sister. She didn't live with us, but she came over on weekends, which I think is mainly why I'm not worried about being a dad to a hypothetical daughter, because my dad was never bad to my sister. I wouldn't treat my kids differently on purpose, though. I thought I was over the fear, to be honest, but it's just getting worse the closer we get to him being born. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to try to find a way to tell my wife about my childhood. I've just never spoken to anyone about it before. My 34 male brother-in-law, Bob, 37, is overweight. Even my wife told him that it's not healthy, but he doesn't care. He says he wants to try, but it's impossible for me. I've always stayed out of these discussions until now. For family dinner, we visited his house, but he was not looking his usual self. So sometime later, I asked him what the problem was. He said that he had attempted to get a date with someone, but she didn't appear to be interested in him, and said that as he's too fat, she's better off with someone else. He said that it's left him depressed, and that when he vented to someone else, his coworker, he told him that it was his fault. I asked him, "Well, what do you want to do about it?" He said, "I don't know." I told him, "Listen, man, the woman was trash, but you're risking your health now." He responded that he found it hard to listen, and "I don't want you lecturing me. Why don't you mind your own business? This is my darn house." I lost my temper and told him, "Well, okay. Either wear some baggy clothes or lose some weight. It's your call." He was silent, but then asked, "What do you mean, baggy clothes?" I responded, "If your breasts are the problem, that might help." He began to shout and yell at me, while my wife attempted to defuse the situation and how I had disrespected him, etc. I told him it's his fault and that he couldn't blame me for pointing that out, etc. But in the end, we had to leave the house. I would like to know whether I overreacted or did something wrong. I was just fed up with him. Am I the idiot? Oh, look, another idiot disguising insults as, "I just want to help." BS. We all know it. OP, you know you don't have to express every thought that pops into your head, right? It's called using some tact. And also, wrong. Baggy clothes are not a fat person's friend. It's a common misconception. Correctly fitted clothes always look best, regardless of size. I wonder how many people kickstart sustainable healthy lifestyles because their friends or family members made unsolicited comments that were cruel about their body. I'm guessing the number is very low. You are the idiot. If you're worried about his health, be supportive. Be his gym buddy. Go for hikes together. Don't crap on him and pretend you're doing him a favor. You asked him why he seemed upset, and he answered honestly. Then you were condescending and insulted him in his own house during a family gathering. It's always obnoxious when someone claims they insulted a fat person because they care about them. Weight and mental health are closely connected for many of us. Still, so many people are convinced that tough love, i.e. shame and degradation, is somehow going to make a fat person have an epiphany and snap them out of all the emotional turmoil that caused the weight gain. The truth is, it has the exact opposite effect. Stop pretending like you give a darn. You just want to feel superior to someone and found an easy target.